If a fool and a simple went on a highway 100 miles an hour when the speed sign says 70, guess what? The fool who knew better and yet didn't apply that, he's going to get a ticket. And guess what? The simple who didn't even know, guess what? He's going to get a ticket too. So it's not good to be simple. There's a saying in our age, they say ignorance is bliss. No. Ignorance is not bliss when it comes to wisdom. The more you know, the more you won't suffer.
Preach the word and none of that hate gon' work. Hold up. Now I don't know what you heard, but don't believe anyone that can't show you the word.
We're going through the book of Proverbs. I feel this book is the most important book that believers need. It's good to know about Revelation and how things are gonna plan out. It's good to understand about the kingdom of God and who's making it in, who's not, and how many layers of hell there is, and the 12 thrones. That's all good and dandy. But what's the point if you have all that information and yet you don't have any wisdom? That to me is like trivia. Like I said, it's like playing Jeopardy. You might as well get that knowledge and go on Jeopardy. And when they have like a Bible series a week, you could join and maybe you might win $100,000. That'll be great. But what profit is it if you have all that information, but you're not walking in wisdom? And the book of Proverbs has a lot of wisdom. And let me tell you this, when you go through it, it's going to step on your toes. But that's the thing. Are you going to be wise and receive it, or are you going to reject it? But the first few chapters in Proverbs gives us the approach, the mentality we should have concerning wisdom, which is important. If you don't have the right approach to wisdom, you might get a lot of understanding, but you might not understand why. So we're going to go through Proverbs today, and we're going to see the importance of the first part is how to get wisdom. So we'll start in that verse 1. Oh, wait a minute. Before that, we need like an index in the book concerning the book of Proverbs, because when you go through the book of Proverbs, there are 3 types of people that are in view. The first one is the wise person. The wise is a person who understands, who has knowledge and applies it, right? Those are the wise. Now, the second group is the fool. Those are people that know better. They have the knowledge. They have, they've been told, they got the information, but doesn't apply wisdom. And because they do, they suffer for it. Those are fools, all right? And there are two subcategories of foolish people that the book of Proverbs likes to throw out every so often. One is the mocker. The mocker, they laugh at the wise. They're like, you don't like to get drunk and party with us? After watching the fight at midnight, you don't want to do that? Then there's the scorner. He's like, he's angry at the wise. They hate the wise. Mr. Goody Two Shoes, Miss, look at her family, so wonderful. They don't understand the modern ways. They're very angry at the wise. Those are 2 subcategories of fools. Now, the third person, which I'm concerned about, is the simple. All right, what is a simple person? A simple is one that does not have knowledge. Right? They don't have the information. The types of people are like, they're naive, they're gullible, they're ignorant. They just haven't received it. In Proverbs 1, it talked about the simple, that the youth may not be simple, because a youth, when they don't know nothing, they just like a clay. Their minds are clay. They don't know anything. A simple one that doesn't have knowledge yet suffers the same fate as a fool. All right. If a fool and a simple went on a highway 100 miles an hour when the speed sign says 70, guess what? The fool who knew better and yet didn't apply that, he's going to get a ticket. And guess what? The simple who didn't even know, guess what? He's going to get a ticket too. So it's not good to be simple. There's a saying in our age, they say ignorance is bliss. No. Ignorance is not bliss when it comes to wisdom. The more you know, the more you won't suffer. So that should be your desire. I want to know. I want to understand. It shouldn't be just today and all that. Your desire to know should always increase, because why? You don't want to suffer the same fate as a fool. All right. So with that index, as we go through the book of Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, Solomon is going to throw out those three types of people. So at least you know the difference, right? Because it's easy to confuse a fool with a simple person, but they're not the same thing. All right. Proverbs 2 verse 1. My son. Okay. Now in this chapter I used to be in programming, and when we used to code in computer program, we used to use a lot of if-then formulas. If meant like if there's certain criteria that are met here, then the results would be this. All right, so Solomon is going to throw out three ifs, and then he's going to throw out two thens. The result of those three ifs that he's going to tell his son. He said this, my son, if you accept my words, all right, so Solomon is wise. So he's saying, look, if you receive what I'm saying and store up my commands within you. In other words, God has given us his commandments. In the Old Testament, it was 613. You got to store them up. It's not like, oh, okay, I know thou shalt not kill and adultery. You got to keep storing them up until you remember them. And store up my commandments within you. Next verse. Listening closely to wisdom. So you're not zoning out. You're not like, okay, this is boring. I'm nodding off. If somebody's not presenting wisdom, then yeah, you should zone out. But if somebody's presenting wisdom, you should listen closely. And directing your heart to understanding. In other words, you got to direct yourself. You got to say, you know what, I got to take, maybe I'm tired, I'm physically, or I just don't want to really focus on that. No, but you got to say, you know what, I'm directing my heart to understand. I'm not here just to play games and chit-chat. I want to direct my heart to understand. Next verse. Second if, furthermore, if you call out to insight and lift up your voice to understanding. So here, this conveys the urgency of how much you want understanding. It's saying if you call out to insight, you're like, oh, call out, you're like, insight, I want insight. You're desperate for it. And lift up your voice to understand, you're like, I want this. I want to get it. I don't just want to just do things. I want to get understanding. All right, the third if you seek it like silver and search for it like hidden treasure. So you got to be that, like, you think of it as that precious. You're seeking it as silver or hidden treasure. You're searching for it. It doesn't come on your lap. You got to seek and search. You got to look for it. You got to hear everybody out. You got to go into this book and search it out. All right. Verse 5. Then, after do those three things, you seek it like silver. What was the other two? You cry out. And the first one, go to verse 2. You listen closely to wisdom and direct your heart to understand. If you do those things, go back to verse 5. Then you will understand the fear of the Lord. So you see, the fear of the Lord is not something that you look up in the dictionary and say, okay, what is the fear of the Lord? It's something you need to understand, but you got to do those three ifs. Then you will understand the fear of the Lord and discover the knowledge of God. You'll realize, wow, this is wisdom. And you'll go in and you'll be like, this is the knowledge of God. This is the truth. All right. But it comes after you do those three things. And there's one more then, but keep going. Verse 6. For the Lord gives wisdom. All right. For the Lord gives wisdom. Not Dr. Phil, not Jordan Peterson. It is the Lord who gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. All right. The Bible says that every word of God all scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable. No, I'm talking in Hebrews 10. It says that all scripture is God breathed. All right. So God breathed into the scriptures. From his mouth, from this word comes knowledge and understanding. All right. It's not me rambling on for 20 minutes. No. It's from his word that knowledge and understanding comes. But you got to do those three things, and then you'll get that. Verse 7. He stores up success for the upright. All right. So if you're walking right, he's going to store. He got success for you. Right. But you got to do the right things. Now, mind you, you're not going after the success. This happens as a result. You're not even looking for it. He just stores it up. He's like, wow, I'm so pleased by you and that you're walking in wisdom and understanding. I'm just going to store up success. He is a shield for those who live with integrity. All right, so God is our shield. He protects us. But who does he protect? Those who live with integrity. All right, so what is integrity? Simple definition is doing the right thing when nobody's looking. He is a shield. He protects those who do the right thing when nobody's looking. All right, if you do the right thing when nobody's looking, God will protect you. That's a promise. Verse 8, so that he may guard the paths of the just. So God will guard you. He'll watch your paths if you walk in wisdom and protect the way of his loyal followers. Again, that's protection. God protects us. Verse 9, this is the second then. This is the second result of doing those three things. Then you will understand righteousness, justice, and integrity, every good path. It says that after you do those things, then you will understand what's right. If you ever meet people, I mean, in the faith, I mean, especially like marriages, when things aren't going right, people that are, what was the third person? Not the fool, the unlearned, the simple. You go up to a simple Christian because you think, because they're in the faith for 20 years. So, you ask them, this simple Christian, what should I do? Like, wait a minute, you're not, he doesn't love you like he did before. Just go and divorce and remarry somebody else. Then you will understand what's right. You will understand what justice is. Sometimes, in the book of Revelation, it says that those that led the people, his saints into captivity, they themselves will go into captivity. There's some Christians be like, no, that's kind of harsh. That's not fair. Shouldn't we just forgive them? And that's the justice of God. Then you will understand righteous justice and integrity. You will understand when you become a wise, you will understand, I got to do this when nobody's looking too. Because, I can look all pretty out there, but if nobody's looking and nobody's around, God still sees. Then you will understand what integrity is. Every good path. You'll know the right path and know which path is off. All right, verse 10. For wisdom will enter your mind, because you've been storing up his commandments. You've been storing up wisdom. So anytime you're in a situation, you're like, I remember that. Wait, doesn't the Bible say this about that? Wisdom will enter your mind, and knowledge will delight your heart. So if you're pursuing wisdom, it delights you. It's not like, I don't want to go there. No, let's drop the topic. I remember years ago, I was talking to my sister about a topic, and then right in the middle, she said, no, let's stop. And if you're seeking understanding and wisdom, it will delight your heart, especially somebody's presenting this. You're like, okay. But if not, then there's something, you're not wise. You're not seeking wisdom. Verse 11, discretion will watch over you. Okay, so what is discretion? Discretion means you discern. It looks a certain way, but you know better. You're like, wait, no. I could sense the person's motives because I have some understanding and knowledge. I mean, as a Hispanic, we're very touchy-feely. But now that I have wisdom and understanding, I understand if a female's like holding me like this and look at me, that to me says there's something going on there. But before I had wisdom, I was like, that's how we Latinos are. Discretion will watch over you, and understanding will guard you. Because now you understand, and now it protects you. Before you didn't understand, you were simple and you were doing things and you were getting hurt, but now you understand. And it guards you. Verse 12. It rescues you. Wisdom rescues you from what? From the way of evil. All right. So wait a minute. That's an evil path this person wants me to take. I'm not going there. It's because that's going to lead to death. The wages of sin is death. I'm not going down that evil path. Wisdom will protect you, will rescue you from the evil way. from the one who says perverse things. This is very important, especially amongst believers, because there are a lot of false teachers out there, a lot of false teachings out there. And if the more wise you are to the scriptures, the more you know, oh, wait, you're off there. You're twisting it. You're making it say more, or you're adding to it. You're taking away from it. It'll rescue you from the one who says perverse things. Verse 13. Now, I italicize rescuing you because that's the context. That's what it's on. Rescuing you from those who abandon the right paths. So it'll rescue you from those so-called believers who say they're believers. They appear like they're walking the right way, but it'll rescue those from those who abandoned. They left. They like, I'm not following that path anymore. It'll rescue you from those who abandon the right paths to walk in the ways of darkness. So they left, and now they want to take you with you, but it'll rescue you from those type of people. Verse 14. Rescuing you from those who enjoy doing evil. All right? I'm sorry, in a lot of churches, they're very soft when it comes to especially homosexuality. And some LGBT churches, they celebrate it. It says it'll rescue you from those who enjoy doing evil. Instead of calling it evil, they're like, love is love. No, it'll rescue you from those enjoying doing evil and celebrate perversion. Not only do they do it, they celebrate, but if you have wisdom, it'll rescue you from that. That's why it's important to get wisdom. Verse 15. Whose paths are crooked. They're not walking in the right path. They're walking in crooked paths. And whose ways are devious. So they'll tell you, oh no, I'm walking in the right path, but they're being devious about it. It'll protect you. That's why you got to get wisdom. Verse 16. It will rescue you from a forbidden woman, from a stranger with her flattering tongue. Okay, I'm gonna stop right here because I gotta. From Proverbs, from this chapter all the way to chapter 6, Solomon keeps talking about the adulterous woman and warning his son to avoid this adulterous woman. Now, I'm gonna pause here because if you don't have this insight, you'll read it and you just think, oh, okay, just stay away from a married woman. You got to get more understanding in that. All right, the reason why Solomon wants you to avoid a married woman is because in Numbers, actually, let me go to Proverbs 6:34 to give you an insight. When we get there, I'll go deeper, but it says this: for jealousy enrages a husband, and he will show no mercy in the day of vengeance. Okay, now give me the next slide, because this is why you got to worry about an enraged husband, because in Numbers 5, it talks about a spirit of jealousy that a man gets over his wife. Okay. Now, what is the spirit of jealousy? Is it just, everybody gets jealous over something. You see somebody with nice shoes. Oh man, I wish I had those, or a nice car. The spirit of jealousy in a man is different. The spirit of jealousy in a man is like blind rage that they don't even care anymore. You could try to recompense them and say, look, I'll pay you $100,000. I'm so sorry. It will not be recompensed. And sometimes it will lead to death of the perpetrator or death of his wife. Or sometimes a lot of crimes that are called murder-suicides are people men that have the spirit of jealousy. But let's read in Numbers 5 what the spirit of jealousy is. And if the spirit of jealousy comes over him and he is jealous of his wife who has defiled herself, or if the spirit of jealousy comes over him and he is jealous of his wife, though she has not defiled himself. So we got to understand what this spirit of jealousy is. And the thing is, we view this as most believers and most churches, they just view it as that's husband and wife. But the thing is, this spirit of jealousy happens in people that are not following the ways of God either. Some people that are in relationships like boyfriend and girlfriend, they have that spirit of jealousy. Because the thing is, when God created sex and relationship, it's supposed to be in a marriage. But because man is corrupt, they decide, well, I'm just going to shack up with this person and everything. But if they're in a relationship, that spirit of jealousy could go over that woman, even though that's technically not his wife, because there's a spiritual dynamic to it. He's going to react the same way as a married man would. Give me the next verse. This is why in 1 Corinthians 6, verse 16, it says this, or do you not know that he who is joined to a prostitute, now Paul's using an exaggerated example. He said, or do you not know that he who is joined to a prostitute becomes one body with her? For as it is written, the two will become one flesh. So here Paul's saying, look, if a man sleeps with a prostitute, it's like when God made Adam and Eve and they became one flesh. So it is. There's a connection there. And the thing is, this spirit of jealousy falls on people that are in relationships. So we gotta understand that, especially you guys that are young. If somebody's in a relationship and then they supposedly leave, don't just think, oh, that person is. I remember in the early 2000s, there was a show called, I never watched it, but I just heard what it was about. It was called Sex and the City. And basically, it was about like these women in New York City that were just sleeping around with guys and everything. And they got, and in that generation, a lot of women got that spirit and they think, oh, I'm just going to sleep with this guy and that. You will not know when one guy will get that spirit of jealousy and then all of a sudden either go after the other guy or go after you. That is why we got to be aware of this. And this is what Solomon is going to tell his son about the spirit of jealousy. Give me the next verse. Because truth be told, this is God's plan for sex. He said this, let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterers. When it comes to the marriage bed, it's supposed to be undefiled and be held in honor. But unfortunately, because of man's sins, they dishonor the marriage bed and they defile it. And even worse, the spirit of jealousy might get into a man. And, they say that one of the major causes for domestic violence is because a man is beating up a woman. One of the besides like car accidents, one of the reasons many women die young women is because of abuse and death because of a man that had the spirit of jealousy. I'm not trying to justify this spirit of jealousy. It is what it is. And people got to be aware of it, because if you get caught up in it, you're just, like for example, my son could be with some girl who's been in a relationship for a year with somebody, but then they broke up like 2 weeks before. Now he's involved. You might be asking for trouble and you don't even know it. So we got to be aware of this spirit of jealousy, because that's for the next 3 chapters. Solomon's going to tell his sons about this spirit of jealousy that might go after his sons. So with that, let's go back. Keep going. Next verse. But let me say this. Let me clarify. If a man sleeps with a prostitute, it doesn't mean that that's his wife. In spirit, it should be like that, but because of the wickedness of man, God does not recognize it as a marriage. For example, remember Jesus was speaking to the woman at the well? He told her this. He said, for you have had 5 husbands. All right, so he told her, look, you have 5 husbands, and you aren't even married to the man you're living with now. Notice, Jesus didn't call the man she was living with her husband, and yet, but like I said, 1 Corinthians 6, it says that principle of them becoming one flesh is there, but because of the corruption, he's not recognized as a husband. So don't be in a if you've been in a relationship, don't think that, oh, that's my husband. No. That's not your husband, but the spiritual aspect might be there, and his reaction might be there. That spirit of jealousy might overtake him. All right, next verse, which is, I'm going back to Proverbs 2, verse 16. It will rescue you from a forbidden woman, from a stranger with her flattering tongue. All right? So, especially you, boys and men, these women, that are in a relationship with somebody, they will flatter you, so you got to be aware. Don't get caught up. Don't be like, that feels good. I feel a little, no, that's like the breadcrumbs that's going to lead you right into the trap. Verse 17, who abandons the companion of a youth and forgets the covenant of a God. So this woman, this adulterous woman, she abandons the companion of a youth. It tells me like this people had some years in them. She left them. She said, I don't want to be with you, and forgets the covenant of a God. She made a promise to God, and she's not even going to keep it. So you got to be aware. Look, guys, don't touch a married woman. Right? That's what we're going to learn through the book of Proverbs. Because if you do, the guy might. Let's keep reading. Verse 18. For our house sinks down to death, and her ways to the dead. So all those flattering words, you're going to die. It's going to kill you eventually. A high probability, okay? Verse 19. None that go unto her return again, neither take they the hold of the paths of life. All right, so like I said, in Proverbs 6, we're going to get deeper into this, but that's because the spirit of jealousy is going to go into her husband, and he's going to, pursue him, and he's going to kill him. That's why Solomon is warning his sons. Verse 20. So follow the way of good people, right? So follow good people. If you see a good person, a good husband, a good wife, follow them. Don't be, they're Christian, but she dresses provocatively. She looks kind of fun and hip. Follow the way of good people, and keep means this is what keep means to do it, and keep to the paths of the righteous. So you look at the righteous person and say, I'm gonna follow their steps. I'm not trying to find the most popular, the most hip. I'm trying to find those that are walking the right paths. That I see, their marriage is working, their kids are growing up, they love in the Lord, there's peace in the home. That's the path you want to keep. Not the, unfortunately, a lot of Christians, they get caught up in the paths of the hipness or the electric. Keep to the paths of the righteous. Verse 21. Why? This is why. For the upright will inhabit the land. All right. So those that are doing right, they're going to live in this land. We're going to keep reading the book of Proverbs. They're going to have long life. They're going to have peace. They're going to have prosperity. They will inhabit the land. And those of integrity will remain in it. They're going to stay in it. They're the ones that are, outlive everybody. They're going to live long lives and everything. Verse 22. But the wicked will be cut off from the land. So don't look at the wicked people and be like, I see these videos and, they all, they got the chains. The wicked will be cut off. They're going to get cut off from the land of living, and the treacherous uprooted from it. That's scary. That should put the fear of God in you. You don't want to be wicked because you don't want to be cut off from the land of living. So I believe that's where it ends, right? So with that, like I said, the next 3 or 4 chapters, we're laying down the groundwork of the importance of wisdom and understanding. In this chapter, you got the groundworks of how you should approach wisdom and understanding. You should not approach it with lethargy and boredom and, I just got to get this over with. No, if that's your attitude, you're not going to learn the fear of the Lord and the knowledge of God. But if your attitude is, I want to seek this, I want to understand, I want to pursue it, I want to, I'm a treasure, I'm a value it higher than gold and silver, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and the knowledge of God. So we'll end there for today. Go ahead.